We're going to skip a little bit. We're in still Likutay Moharan. We're going to go down to, we're going to continue to Torah Tes. It's a little bit smaller Torahs. I think it'll be a little bit easier to, for now, to put it together. Instead of a long shiurim that will take like 5 or 6 or more shiurim to finish these big Torahs that we have before. And maybe later we'll get back to them. Okay, so Torah Tes in Likutay Moharan. El asher yihye shama haruach laleches yilchu. This is the pasuk the Rebbe starts with. Isa b'tikun ezor. The tikun ezor says, Kulu arkin deliba misnagin basarucha. All of the valves or the veins of the heart, they go after the ruach. They go in accordance with the ruach. Hado dechsiv, and this is what it says. This is a continuation of the Zohar. El asher yihye haruach laleches v'chulu yilchu, which is the pasuk the Rebbe is bringing. Now the Rebbe is going to explain this Zohar. This ruach is referring to the ruach that comes out of the lungs. Kanfei because if it weren't for the lungs, the kanfei the wings of the lungs, then which is really it's referring to the lungs. Then the heat of the heart would burn up the whole body. The lungs, the ventilation system is not just to bring in air and to give oxygen in your blood, but it's also to cool down your body. So, if we didn't have this cooling system, then the heart would get so much heat that it would heat up. Also in a car we have fans and things like that, so Hashem made our body, Baruch Hashem, with fans. Now, through the ruach, through the ruach that comes on the wind or the breath, the air that a person takes into his lungs, or the air in general, a candle is lit and a candle is put out. Kanir b'chush, as we see in reality, sometimes the wind can blow out a candle. So we see the light, the fire can be extinguished through too much wind, too much air. We're going to connect this soon to the wind or the air inside a person's lungs. And sometimes a light can be lit through wind, through breath, or through wind that is blown on it. Now, sometimes we see like we have a coal, or if you have a person has makes a barbecue. So if you fan the barbecue really hard, so you can actually get the coals, which don't have any fire, which is red, to catch on fire, to actually make a flame. So now he's explaining he's continuing to explain how fire sometimes gets extinguished. Some ashes fall into the candle. Long old candles, they didn't have such good wicks, and you could see this very much in old candles. That when you have a long candle that burns, what happens is the wick, kind of just peels over, folds over, and there's like ashes of the old wick. If it's a long wick, they get stuck, and it actually the fire doesn't burn so well. So if you make a wick from cotton or from other things like that, if you make it just by yourself, and you don't make it the fancy way that they make most of the good wicks nowadays, then what happens is that there's ashes that are attached to this wick, and the fire becomes extinguished through these ashes. And it actually separates the parts of the fire that are on this fire, and you could see this a lot of times when this wick, let's say for example, could be other types of ashes, when the wick is burning and the ashes of the wick attach itself to the wick, so you see the fire could sometimes stick out in different places and doesn't really light up all the wick on all sides because there's these ashes that are stuck to it. And the fire or the flame cannot light properly at that point when it has a furious on it, or when it has ashes on it. And therefore, when a person blows on it, So sometimes a person could use breath, could use wind to blow on the ashes and blow the ashes off, and the ashes, for example, of a nair, of a candle, would fall down, and that the flame would go back to its strong point because it's not being covered by these ashes. Ashes is after wood already burns, you have ashes. So if you take these ashes, you can actually put out a fire with it, possibly, because the ashes are not so quick to catch on fire. And also sometimes the wind, so here we see wind can actually light up fire. And now also we see that wind can put out fire. If a person blows too hard on a candle, then what he does is he takes the fire and he separates it from the candle, and there's no fire on the candle anymore, and then the fire also extinguishes, and you don't have any fire anymore on the candle. The candle extinguishes. Now, that's all science, so to speak. Now we're going to explain how this relates directly to Ruchnius and Tzaddikim on a global level, Tzaddikim and Klal Yisrael, and on a personal level, how it works within a person inside of himself. Most of the Torahs of the Rebbe are broken down to at least into these two categories, and if they aren't, then a person could break them down to these two categories: how the world works in general, and how a person inside of that world is like a microcosm of that big world. So here we're going to see how the Manhigim Ador and Klal Yisrael, how they relate to each other, and the different different aspects of Klal Yisrael relate to each other, and how that also is found inside every single person. Okay, Manhigim Ador hem bechinas ruach, k'mo shekasuv ish asher ruach bo, she'yodeh lalach neged rucho shel kol echad v'echad. Now, the Manhigim Ador, the Tzaddikim of the generation, the leaders of the generation, they are the Bechina, they're like the wind, they're like the Ruach. And why? We even have a pasuk that shows that they are the ones that know how to go with the spirit, the wind. The wind is called spirit, the spirit of each person. So they can go with the Ruach of each person, and they know the Ruach of the generation, and they can strengthen the people in the right way and give them the proper spirit for serving Hashem. And they can do these things, and therefore they're called Ruach. They're called the Ruach of the world, so to speak. The Yisrael, and the Yisrael, the Klal Yisrael, the rest of Klal Yisrael, is the concept of the heart. Ki Yisrael hem liba de kol ama, because Yisrael is the heart of the whole world. If you take the whole world and you see the center and the heart of the whole world is the Jewish people. We need the leaders of the generation to blow and to blow their wind, or their spirit, or the air. This is in a physical sense. More obviously, we're not talking. They don't need to physically blow on Klal Yisrael, but they need to give of their spirit to Klal Yisrael, Shem Liba D'Alma, which we are the heart of the world, the rest of Klal Yisrael. To get rid of these ashes which have attached themselves to Klal Yisrael. Now, what is ashes? Basically, we're saying that the Klal Yisrael, the tzaddikim have a tafkid, purpose, and that one of them is to rid us of the ashes that have attached themselves to us. What are the ashes? Ashes, dahainu ma'ashchosh nofal alehem. Now these ashes are the sadness that attaches themselves to Jewish people, and this sadness stops a person from actually being inflamed and being fired up to serve Hashem. That's one aspect that tzaddikim need to remove these ashes which are